And I want to go to Pete Williams now, our justice correspondent. Pete, that whistleblower is getting looked at from a different avenue today. What can you tell us about that?
A couple of ones. Not only did the Republicans on the House committee want to talk to him, the Republicans on the Senate Intelligence Committee want to talk to him for a different reason, to talk about whistleblower protection. But now we've learned, Lester, that the FBI has reached out and has sought to interview the whistleblower as well, contacting the whistleblower's lawyer, according to people who are familiar with this, that we've talked to a number of different sources about. It's not entirely clear what they want to talk to him about. It does seem, though, pretty clear that they're not investigating the whistleblower. They want the whistleblower's testimony in looking at something else. What is the something else? We're not sure. We've been told by some folks, however, that some people at the FBI were a little concerned about how quickly the door was slammed shut after this exchange, the transcript of the phone call became public, that the Justice Department concluded that there was nothing criminal about it. What we were told at the time was that DOJ lawyers looked at this about whether it was a potential campaign finance violation. Would this have been a thing of value? And they concluded that it was not. And that was the end of the matter. And apparently there were some people across the street at the FBI who thought, well, wait a minute, maybe we should be looking at other things too. So in any event, they sought last month, we've been told, to interview the whistleblower. That hasn't happened yet, Lester.
All right, Pete Williams.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.